Hi, my name's Adam from Lock Focus, and I'm here to tell you today about the installation of the Arco 2-point lock. So this, as you know, is your Arco extrusion, pre-cut out by you guys with the top slides, the main lock body housing, and the bottom slides, the outside, and the two mounting points already machined into your extrusion. So the first part that we're going to install is the main lock body, this part here with the spring. Very, very simple. The two holes in the side of the housing here match up with the two holes that are on the extrusion here and here. The only thing that you need to remember is that there are two lengths of screws. Now these are M5 countersunk screws. One is 20mm long, one 25mm long. The 20mm long screw goes in this end. The 25mm one goes into this waist section here. So I've marked that one with an L so you can see, so it's relatively straightforward. So we position the lock body inside the extrusion, and you'll notice that it doesn't slip straight down. So the way to move it down is to just insert the barrel and the key, turn the key, and it's now in its position. Make sure it lines up on the side and pop in the two screws and tighten with the screwdriver. Like so. So now you can see the lock body is secured to the extrusion. The next thing we're going to pop on are these fascia plates for the finger slides at the both top and bottom slides. Now you'll notice on these, one side has a complete solid groove, the other side has detail on it which allows it to snap in easily. So simply slip the groove under the extrusion and press down. It's that simple. Same for the top. Again, straight bar and clips. And we want to do this on both sides. So once your two fascias are in place, we'll be putting in the bottom slide. So the bottom slide is this long piece here. You'll notice that it's come pre-assembled with two steel nuts and two grub screws here and here. And this is also requiring this square nut. So you drop the square nut into this slot here. This will become obvious why in a second. And you then screw in your bottom rod in through this nut. And as you screw it in, it goes further and further into the plastic part, giving you around about 50mm of adjustment, which was the requirement from the design brief. So I'm obviously not going to screw this all the way in, but I'm going to put it in a decent way just to demonstrate exactly what happens. So when you've got it in as far as you need it to go, using a small flat bladed screwdriver, just nip up the two grub screws, one on either side. Now these are pre-assembled into captive nuts, so you shouldn't be able to strip them. Now on the lock, when you look down at the lock, you see the sprung part just here. That sprung part activates with these zinc parts on the slides. Now these have also been shaped to fit into the end of the extrusion, into the end detail. So slide your bottom slide in, like so, all the way up, until it hits the sprung part of the main lock body that you've already assembled. Similar sort of thing for the top slide. Obviously the top rod looks different. The top rod doesn't have a screw section in it, so that just pops into the plastic part. Once again with the flat bladed screwdriver, nip up the two grub screws Again, they're captive. And it's worth remembering here that if your top rod is more than 1 kilogram in weight, which is about 2.5 meters long, it's worth going to this aluminium tube to cut the weight down in the rod. And as you can see here, we've got an aluminium tube which has been pinned on at both ends to demonstrate. Slip over the collar, which is a stopper basically. It stops this top spring from being compressed too much. And slide the top slide into the lock until it hits the piece in the middle. So next we're going to put in the bottom rod guide and spring. So put the spring over the rod, slide the bottom rod guide over. You'll see here that we're using the square-headed screws which Arco use. I've pre-drilled these to make it easier to demonstrate how it goes together. What we're going to do is line them up. And secure using a special tool. So the same detail for the top slide. Slide the top slide over the rod like so. Compress the spring a little bit and insert your screws. Don't roll off. Using the special tool. So now you have a bottom slide and a top slide that lock into position. So the next part to put in is the stopper, which is this laser cut part here with these teeth. These teeth here activate on these teeth here inside the rack. You'll notice there's the same number of teeth as there are holes in the rack. It's very simple. When the rack moves down, the stopper moves around, activates with this slot in here and stops the bottom rod being activated too far, so you can't break the lock. So first of all, install the small nylon washer over the post. Install the stopper so that it sits like so, with the end tooth sitting nicely in the end tooth of the rack. Then put on the cheese-headed screw and washer into the post, which is pre-drilled for it. And you can check that works by sliding the bottom slide. And you can see how the stopper is moving around and stopping the bottom slide there. So that's how that works. The next part we're going to install is the outside lock and fascia. So here's the barrel, standard barrel, you know what they look like, come with keys. And this is the outside fascia, which is sized for that barrel. So flip the assembly over. Ensure that the register of the lock, which is this part here, sits inside the register that's inside there. The Bible sits down in the Bible. So it just flips in like so. If you need to adjust it, just put the key in and get it sitting nice and flat. Then pop the fascia over the top. It'll look like that. This fascia is secured with two M4x10 black anodized screws, which you access from the inside. Everything is accessed from the inside of the building on this lock, so there is no opportunity of opening it up from the outside. So the two holes for those two black screws are there and there. So now your external fascia with your barrel is in place. So the next thing we're going to do is the front fascia. Same drill as the rear fascia, or the outside fascia. Pop the barrel in, make it sit nicely. Put the fascia over the top and secure with the two 10mm countersunk screws. There again, they're black. So now the lock is almost completely assembled. It's at this point that you want to consider giving it a test. So slide up the top slide down the bottom slide, pop the key in, and it should close nicely like that. So finally we'll be fitting the grips. The finger grips are nicely profiled, and you'll see one is plain and one has a screw hole in it. So the plain grips go onto the outside of the lock, the back of the lock if you like. Just fit those over the two lugs that are there, flip it over, put the screws through the inside lug and screw them in. And this will make it nice and comfortable to use. So there we have the Arco 2-point lock fully assembled. Okay, so the Arco lock also comes in a number of different configurations. I have in front of me here a 3-point lock, which is obviously the same as the 2-point lock, but also has the extra hook here. This is put in place of the stopper from the previous build. Also, we have various handles. You can, instead of having the finger slide here, you can have a snib, and you can have a full-sized egress handle. Comes with an accessory kit. Obviously the square drive goes into the back of the handle, and this adapter here replaces the barrel inside the main lock body. If you have a single point Arco lock, then you won't have anything at the top. It's only a bottom slider, and also on the outside of the lock you won't have this fascia. It'll just be plain extrusion. So we supply a machined down finger slide which replaces that one, which allows it to slide inside the extrusion. Also, if you want to use bi-lock, we have bi-lock fascias to replace the standard wafer lock fascias. So if you have any problems, please call your Lock Focus salesperson.